Hey guys, AuspiciousAussie here, and welcome to episode 1 of my Athletic Bilbao series for Football Manager 2019. Just want to first of all say it's good to be back. It's probably been about 2 years since I've uploaded a Football Manager video, but I have decided to return, and I'm looking forward to it massively. So first things first, starting with Athletic Bilbao. Now they're a team that I've played with quite a few times before in previous personal saves. I've never made a series on them, but I've always contemplated it because of the challenge associated with it, and that is of course the Basque only players that they're able to sign. There is one exception to this rule though, and that is of course they're able to sign 16-year-old Spanish players. They have to be signed at 16 years old. Once they hit 17, they're no longer eligible to be signed, and they cannot gain that Basque nationality. So yeah, first things first, let's have a look at the club a little bit. As you can see, the key employees here. Sasita is the captain, we've got Benat as the vice captain, key player is Raul Garcia, and the hot prospect is Inigo Cordoba. If you look at the league history here, over the last 20 years, they've had their peaks and valleys, where they've done really well in the league and then they've dropped down. I'm pretty sure they did get relegated there during that season. Of course, recently, over the last 4 or 5 years, they did have some success, but recently they've dropped back down. And of course, last season they did come 16th. So I'm going to try and use this series and focus predominantly on youth, of course, because that is essentially the only way for us to get players, and we're going to use that as a beacon to hopefully topple the big three in Spain, of course, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid and Barcelona. So the club is pretty rich, and of course that is due to selling players. Most of you in real life will have seen the transfer of the Bilbao goalkeeper who went to Chelsea for, I believe, £72 million. A lot of the finances, of course, did come to the club, which we have spent a little bit on. I'll show you the transfers first of all, and then we'll do a bit of a squad overview. So yeah, I didn't really do too much business. I brought in a few players. A few players were already brought to the club as well during the start of the game, which is an interesting little feature, which I can appreciate. So first of all, we'll do the outs. Christian Guinea, who is a player that was brought in on, I think in the last season, who is actually a Romanian left back who does have Basque nationality. I let him go out on loan to Steaua Bucharest, purely for the fact that we already have two very high quality left backs in the team. Inigo Lecue went to Real Betis, again on loan. We managed to get 100,000 per month out of them, which is a decent little bit of business there, because I did want to get him out on loan as well, because we did at the time have two other right backs that were ahead of him. Looking back on it now, I'm a little bit upset because of our final play that we let go of, and that was Oscar de Marcos, who was probably our starting right back. He went to Juventus for £15 million, with a little 50 match clause in there as well for £2 million. The players that were brought in, of course, these first three were brought in at the start of the game. We've got Danny Garcia on a free transfer. Looks a very good player, solid midfielder. Not really too much to speak about there. He'll probably find himself on the bench at the start of the season. But of course, with FM19, there are a lot of injuries that do occur. Some people think it's a bit of a bug. I'm not really too sure what it is, but you need depth, and I think he's a good depth player. We then have Ander Kappa, who is a player that I have brought in on my personal saves before, so I'm pretty familiar with this guy. He's a pretty decent right back, I think, and he'll obviously be starting for us this season. We then have Yuri, who is a very good player, left back, was brought in for £17 million from PSG. Wasn't really getting any game time at PSG. I mean, he found himself in 22 games. I suppose that's not too bad for a season. But yeah, Brought him in for 17 million. I mean, he's very good. We already had a very high quality left back in Balenciaga, who I'll show you in a second. So them two will fight out for the first team spot there. And I think our defence is pretty stable. Maybe right back is a little bit weak with the sale of DeMarcos. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the defence. The next player that I brought in personally was Pablo Hervias for 5.5 million from Eibar. Again, from Eibar, we kind of Athletic Bilbao. What am I saying? Athletic Bilbao kind of raided them this season. And yeah, we took Hervias for 5 million, I believe it was 5.5 million. Yeah, he's just a backup winger. He's very good, can play on both wings, and fits the tactic that we're using very, very nicely. And the final player that was brought in was Inigo Eguaras. He was brought in from Real Zaragoza for 1.3 million, and he's just a backup defensive midfielder because we didn't have one, and I didn't really want to play San Jose, one of the better centre backs in the team, as the defensive midfielder, so we brought him in as the backup. Of course, with all those purchases, like the finances are a little bit off as far as this season goes, but of course we did get a nice little injection, well, the club did. The finances look at about 30 million now, so it's not too bad. I mean, you don't actually see the finances for the Kepa sale, the goalkeeper sale, so that's a little bit weird. We are currently over the wage budget from me bringing in those players, but again, we've got 25 million in the bank to spend on transfers. I'm not too worried. I mean, I can obviously adjust it a little bit if I wanted to, and just slide it down a little bit, which I might actually do here. We'll just do that. So there we go. Now we're under it, so that's perfect. As far as the projection goes, if people are interested in seeing how finances work, we are going to be making money every season, so I think that's obviously a very good thing. We're not going to be spending too much money unless one of the bigger Basque players does become available, like a Lorente or a Herrera. So yeah, moving on to the squad overview. I'll give you just a brief rundown of the players here. In goals, our goalkeeper is probably the weakest position, I think, in the whole team, which is unfortunate, but obviously we sold our best keeper. It was pretty much inevitable. But Ramiro here, he's got 4-star potential, 23 years old. He will be the starting goalkeeper, and we'll kind of see how he goes and see if he'll develop into that 4-star player. Kappa, of course, I mentioned earlier, just a good attacking fullback, and that's how he'll play. We've got San Jose, who I also mentioned before, can play in defensive mid, but again, if you look at his stats, he's very much a ball-playing defender, which of course is his role in the tactic. Inigo Martinez is a very interesting signing. He's on 155k a week. He's a very, very good defender, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Athletic Bilbao signed him from Real Sociedad, who is their fierce rival. And yeah, 28.5 million is a lot of money to be paying. I mean, I guess in these days it's not, but you don't really see Athletic Bilbao spend that type of money. I guess they kind of had to steal him from their rivals. Of course, left back will be Yuri. He'll be playing as a wing back on support, which is very interesting because I'm kind of playing with a full back on the right and a wing back on the left, and I'll show you the tactic before we get into today's game against Villarreal, but it does sort of even itself out as such. Itaraspe, I'm not really sure if that's how you correctly pronounce his name, but I've always pronounced it that way, so I'm going to stick with it. Very, very solid defensive midfielder, deep line playmaker in the tactic, and I'm happy with him. So yeah, following that is Benat, who is getting old now. He's been a stalwart in the Athletic Bilbao team. He's the vice captain, of course, as I mentioned earlier. Very solid midfielder. He'll be playing as one of the advanced playmakers in the centre of midfield. Raul Garcia, I'm not too sure about him. 32, he's very good. He's probably the best player in the team skill-wise, like attribute-wise. 4-star, current ability as well. I'm just not sure about him. His contract runs out at the end of the season. He's on 100k a week. He wants a pay rise of 15,000 to that sort of extent, and I'm not too sure if he's going to stay. He will start. Well, he's not going to start today because he's injured, but he will be one of the starters on the team sheet every week for every game. This isn't the lineup, actually. I should mention that. But we have Inaki Williams, who is the right wing at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to play him up front. He hasn't really impressed me too much during preseason, but of course, with that pace, he's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams in La Liga. We then have Aiku Munayin, who a lot of people are probably familiar with if you've ever played Football Manager. He's been around for years. He was a wonder kid, obviously about 5 or 6 years ago. Everybody was trying to sign him, and he's still at Bilbao, which is interesting. I thought he might have moved on. He probably had quite a few chances to do that. Aduriz is the striker, 37 years old, very old, but still kicking. He's got great mental attributes there as well. Really good heading. He is a target man, but I think I'm going to stick with the pressing forward because I like that about this year's roles. I feel like the pressing forward does a lot more work as the striker. On the bench we have Simon, just a backup goalkeeper. Again, he's really young. I don't want to breeze over him too much. Really young. He does have a possibility of reaching that 4th star, but it doesn't look very likely. Only 6 determination. Not great. Yere is another centre-back that can play at right-back as well. Very solid, nice and young. Probably going to be a starting centre-back in the future once San Jose's career sort of starts to wrap up a little bit. Then we got Balenciaga, who I mentioned before. The other left-back, sorry. Very good player. Again, I don't really understand. There's not much difference between him and Yuri, so I don't really understand why they signed him. Of course, Yuri is a couple of years younger, but I don't know. They're pretty similar. We already mentioned Agueras. Danny Garcia as well, one of the 2 transfers. Hervias as well. We then have Cordoba, who's a very interesting player. Can play up front or on the left. We do play with an inside forward on the left, so I'm not sure how dangerous he's going to be there. He can, of course, play up front, but again, I'm not too sure about that either because we do have a couple of better options around. He does have very good off the ball, which is an important attribute as well. That should be mentioned. And 3.5 star potential with a possibility of going to 4.5. So he's a talented kid, and at 21 I'll definitely give him a chance. Of course, I kind of have to because we are limited to an extent to these players. The other players in the squad are Nunez, who's just a bit of an average young centre-back. Could potentially be something, but again, he doesn't really fit the ball-playing defender mould as such. Low passing, low first touch. But everything else is pretty good. He'll be back up throughout the season. He'll get a little bit of game time. We got Mikel Rico, very old midfielder. Not really what I'm looking for in terms of the tactic because we do play playmakers in all 3 positions. Defensive mid is deep lying, defend, and then of course we have advanced playmaker support, and then advanced playmaker attack. So he doesn't really fit the mold. He's got really low passing and vision. Good defensively, but nothing really else there about Rico. Sasita, who would be the starting right winger. Very good player, probably one of the best in the team. Of course, is the captain as well. 3.5 star current ability in his prime years. Of course, he just hit 30, and I actually gave him a testimonial 2 games ago, and he got injured at halftime. So yeah, he was out for 4 to 8 weeks or something like that, and he's just starting to come back now. Well, he's still out injured for another 2 to 3 weeks possibly. And Unai Lopez, sorry, very, very good young attacking midfielder that can play well. he can play all three positions and right wing very well. I'm not really too sure where I'm going to start him because we do play with a winger out on the right, so there's a potential to play him out there, but there's also the potential to keep him as an advanced playmaker in the centre midfield position as well. Again, I'm undecided. He is out injured as well currently. He's going to be out for another 4 weeks, so I guess I have a little bit of time to kind of decide and see where he's going to fit in with the tactic and in with the team. He'll definitely get some game time. Probably rotate him with Garcia throughout the season. Alright, so that's the squad. Let's move on to the pre-season fixtures that we have played. So yeah, let me mention this first of all. These first 3 games were used with the default gegenpress tactic. I was just going to use that, but then I decided to go for a bit more advanced tactic. So I've started using a possession-based tactic. It's very similar to a tiki-taka Barcelona domination, possession, win the ball back sort of tactic, and we did use that after, and as you can see, the results were kind of better. We stopped sort of conceding goals, and we really started dominating games. I mean, the opponents weren't that great, to be fair, but neither were they in the first few games against the MLS teams. So yeah, we beat LAFC we had a training camp here in Los Angeles, so we beat them 1-0. We lost to Los Angeles Galaxy. Unfortunately, Ibrahimovic didn't play, but yeah, they still beat us. And at this stage, I was kind of a little bit iffy about the gegenpress. I was like, it's not really going to work too well. And then, of course, I played it again in the next game, which we won 5-1. So at this point, I was okay. I was like, it might work. It might work for the season. And then I sort of started to think about the opposition that we're going to face, and a lot of the Spanish teams are probably going to be defensive, like a lot of the lower down teams. And I don't think the gegenpress is going to work that well. I would rather try and dominate them and really take it to them in terms of that. Of course, I'm not sure how the possession tactic is going to work against the big teams, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Possibly use a counter-attacking tactic. I'm not too sure yet. I guess the first time, or the first opposition that is somewhat decent, will be the real test. We then had a couple of games against our affiliate clubs that are located in the Basque region, beat both of them 2-0. The Sasita testimonial was 1-1. As you can see, both goals scored in the last 2 minutes of the game. And the final preseason game was against San Jose, in which we also won 2-0. Our opponents today are Villarreal, and let's get into that game now. I'm going to change a few things around, of course. Garcia's got that injury, so I guess we're going to bring Garcia in for him. Might actually swap that around, I think. Play Bernat a bit more attacking, Garcia a bit more defensive. Does that look alright? I'm not too sure. We could play Hervias. And I might actually go positive, because we are versing Villarreal. I don't really rate them too highly. Against the bigger teams, I might drop that back down to balanced, purely because I think with this tactic that I'm using, we want to be a bit more structured in terms of our defense. So I'm just going to chuck Rico on the bench here. We don't really have anyone else, of course. We do have a lot of players in the athletic B team and C teams. Some of them are decent, some of them are not. There's a couple of good youth prospects in those teams. I won't really go into them too much in this episode. Maybe once I decide to bring them up, I'll sort of talk about them a little bit more. Anyways, so that is that. I think the lineup looks pretty good. I am actually going to keep Williams out on the right instead of putting him up front, and I think that'll suit our team a little bit better. A little bit more pace. Of course, Sasita's out injured as well, which is one of the factors as to why I'm actually going to do that. Just going to tell the boys I expect them to win here, and we're passionately going to tell them that we believe they have what it takes, and I believe I have what it takes as well, and I'm super happy. Just going to keep it on key highlights here. I don't want the episode to go too long, but yeah, like I was saying, super happy to be back, and really looking forward to. I haven't actually stopped playing Football Manager. I did rack up 750 hours playtime on 18. I just haven't really had the time to record episodes and do that type of stuff like I used to previously. But yeah, I've got a really good computer now as well. You might notice I also have a different microphone as Williams gets in and scores the opening goal there as I'm speaking, as I'm rambling. However, the ref is looking at VAR, which is a new feature, of course, in this year's Football Manager and in real life as well. Lots of controversy about that. And the goal stands, so perfect. See, as I was saying, as we're going to score another goal here, that looked offside, but I don't think it was. Adjura's getting his first goal of the season there as well, and we look pretty good. I'm quite happy with the performance so far. As you can see, the tactic is working pretty goddamn well. We have 64% possession, and of course we have limited them to no shots at all, so... And we've just got our third goal. Inaki Williams again off the free kick from Bernat, who does get the assist, and we're 3-0 up going into half time. I don't think I've ever started a series this well, so I'm really happy. I'm very pleased, lads. Keep it up. So yeah, if you're a new viewer, this is the first time you've ever watched one of my videos, I would really appreciate you subscribing. I am currently... Well, so I'm going to go for 1k subscribers. It was my goal for a very long time, and now I'm hoping to hit it. And I think I can definitely do it because I'm committed to posting content again. And every other day, every 2 days, we're going to have a nice video out here. And yeah, just hoping that everybody will enjoy the content like they used to. Well, I guess I hope they did. I'm going to make a sub here. We've got about 10 minutes to go. And we've got quite a few tired players out there as well. I'm going to take Itaraspe off. Because I think that defensive midfield position is pretty key. Honestly, I'd like to take... Okay, I guess we'll have to do it. I want to take Bernat off just to save his fatigue there. I guess we can make all three subs. We're 3-0 up. I mean, ultimately, I think Capra on a yellow card and fatigued is a bit of a worry. And of course, we don't really have a natural right backup, so that's a little bit worrying. So we'll take him off. All three subs are used, so you know, obviously, no one ever really likes to do that. As Munain steals the ball there, passes it, and that's another goal. Adjura's nice little assist there from Munain, and Adjura's gets his second goal of the game. Good stuff, good stuff. And they've only had one shot the whole game, which is very, very impressive. Of course, this tactic is going to be... I feel like it's going to be very good against the sort of weaker teams, but I feel like against the better teams, it's going to probably struggle. I'm not too sure how it's going to go. As you can see there, just unlocked a couple of achievements. As this is my first real save. I did a little test save with Arsenal, and we just sort of tested out the tactics and stuff, and saw the training. The new training this year is very, very weird. So there we go, guys. A nice little 4-0 victory over Villarreal in the first episode. If you enjoyed the video, and I think a 4-0 victory deserves a like on this video, I would greatly appreciate that. Inaki Williams with 2 goals, Adjura's with 2 goals as well. And I'm a very happy man. Thank you for watching, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.